Yo, what's going on, everybody? Hey, today we gonna be reacting to this one right here, man. We got Sean Diddy Combs' legal team asked for his release after verdict, and I guess they ain't finding a whole lot on Diddy, man, to put him away. Boy said, "Free that man." About to go ahead and jump into it and see what they talking about. Without further ado, let's get into this real quick.
You stand by. I also want to bring in our NBC News legal analyst, Kristen Gibbons-Fedden. Kristen, you have followed this one from the very beginning. I want to just update our viewers about what's going on inside court right now. His defense team, given the acquittals on some of these charges, Kristen, they're asking for him to be released. Because remember, he's been behind bars. He was facing such serious crimes, even though he had pled not guilty and maintained his innocence. He was behind bars this whole time, right? He has been in a detention center for months now. And so they're asking for him to be released today, for him to be able to live in Miami at his home. They've said, look, his plane has been sequestered. This is his first conviction. He should be released.
Let's look at this right here. This says, Sean Diddy Combs' verdict. It says 1 count, racketeering, conspiracy, not guilty. It says 2nd count says trafficking by force, fraud. Okay, not guilty. Okay, transportation, engaged, prostitution, guilty. Okay. So trafficking by force, not guilty. And the last one,
Released on appropriate conditions. Kristen,
so they got him. Hold on, he got 5 counts here. And they get them on 2 of those, and that's the transportation to engage in prostitution. I mean, he was flying the birds out, and it was getting piped out, whether that was male or female. It was prostitution going on.
what are the chances he walks today?
I think there is a high likelihood that he walks today. Keep in mind what the jury found, right? The jury did not find him guilty of counts 2 and 4. So they really ripped out the threat element. They ripped out the violence element. They ripped out the violent parts of which is what the prosecution used as the main thing to keep him in bail. Remember back to when they were arguing bail multiple times because the defense asked for reconsideration. And some of the main things that they pointed to was how Diddy was violent, how Diddy kind of utilized his enterprise to enact all of these violence. Well, the jury has spoken.
Hey, he was being violent. Sucker blew up Kid Cudi's car. And y'all saw the video. I even posted a video doing a reaction to the surveillance that they had. It was unedited surveillance of him dragging Cassie in the motel and doing all this stuff. But she kept going back. So they saying like, yo, how does this make any sense? Why would we convict him of, any violence or whatever abuse when she kept going back to him? You know what I mean? But it seemed like they're saying that they dropped all of that and they getting him. They found him guilty on transportation to engage in prostitution.
There was no criminal enterprise, or at least they did not find that Puff Daddy or Diddy made any of these crimes possible through his power, through his money, through his control, through his violence. So there is a high likelihood that with his plane sequestered, with him in being Miami, and the fact that he is a celebrity where he can't really go unnoticed, right, there is a high likelihood that the judge may have released him on bail today.
Yeah, I mean, they have his passport, but he has an enormous amount of means. And obviously, the prosecution is going to oppose this. They're saying that his attorneys have been trying to downplay this years-long conduct. But, Misty, if you're the judge in this moment right now, do you release him with the sort of hope in the prayer that he's not going to be able to fly out of the country somewhere?
I think it's very likely that he gets released now that he's convicted on these Mann Act charges, and that's it. You're not talking about the sex trafficking, force, fraud, and coercion. You're not talking about RICO, this widespread criminal enterprise. You're talking about 2 isolated Mann Act charges. And the analysis is going to be, number 1, danger to the public. The other is going to be flight risk. So flight risk is what you're speaking of. To the extent that there's enough conditions on him to keep him and have him come back for sentencing, I think it's very likely that he gets released. And when he gets sentenced, this is really important because what's going to happen is the prosecutors are going to present aggravating factors. The defense is going to present mitigating factors.
We should make that clear. That does not happen today. That happens in months from now.
That happens down there.
Yeah.
But the fact that sex trafficking is an acquittal, it's going to be really important, because that idea of who's exploited in these Mann Act charges, that Cassie Ventura or Jane were potentially exploited, that would be the prosecution's argument. I think you're going to lose a lot of that argument. So
Cassie, again, was Diddy's girl at the time, and she was dating, I don't know, Kid Cudi and some other guys before she got with Diddy. But then when she got with Diddy, Diddy was passing her around, and other people were paying Diddy to smash Cassie. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they're trying to get him on, with the prostitution and, you know, the transportation to engage in prostitution. You know what I mean? They're trying to get him on that. He was pimping her out, basically. He probably was doing that with a few other people, but it's more so, you know, Cassie. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
the judge is going to be looking at that possible penalty and likely saying that he will be released with those conditions. And one more point on that sex trafficking. I think the defense made a very good point, which the prosecution really had to concede. And when we say it's easier to convict if it's only sex trafficking at least one time, it's also a concession to a certain degree, because when do you decide it's sex trafficking versus not sex trafficking? And a lot of people have this idea of what that is, right? That it's something more than just one isolated incident, that it's more of a large scale operation. And I'm wondering if that undercut the prosecution's
I think people
case.
also think of it as something that not for the benefit of the person themselves,
Correct.
right? They think about people.
Said they wonder if it was a large scale operation. Did he act alone, or was there more people involved behind this whole thing? Because, you know, he had a lot of ties with a lot of people, and a lot of people that came to his events probably brought a lot of other people. You know what I'm saying? So did he act alone? Who knows? We don't know.
Selling girls, they think about some international operation, people in the back of a van. People have an image of sex trafficking that doesn't necessarily correlate with what the law says about sex trafficking, but I wonder if it played into the jury's view of what was going on here, because the defense kept hammering, look, he might be a flawed guy. He might be violent. He might be an abuser, but he's not a trafficker. He's not part of an enterprise.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Even to the extent that Mark Agnifilo in his closing referenced Sammy the Bull. It's like they wanted the jury to go home and rent Goodfellas so that they could see what a criminal enterprise was. And I agree with you. I think that just in the jury's mind, and the average person, you're going to think of a more widespread scheme where there's a lot of exploitation of women being coerced to come into a sex trafficking ring. That's not what this was. So clearly the defense did a good job undercutting it. And Laura, also, defense strategy of not calling any witnesses, people have said, was that good or that bad?
A lot of people wondered, is that a concession that he doesn't have a strong case? And now look what happened.
Well, it's a risk-averse strategy, in my view, because once you start putting on witnesses, you open up doors. And the defense did a very good job on cross-examination of using electronic record, text messages, emails, social media posts. You can't really wiggle out of them. They're in black and white. So if the jury reads those as being romantic relationships, consenting relationships, whatever that might be, you know, when with respect to forced labor, that there were relationships between him and his employees that didn't rise to that level of force and coercion, that's really effective, because that goes back in time to when it's happening. It's not what you're thinking in retrospect from the stand.
Just to bring everyone inside the courtroom again, no cameras in federal court, but we have a crackerjack team inside there that is sort of feeding us through the Pony Express of notes here. And the prosecution is fighting desperately right now to keep him behind bars, saying things like he poses a danger, he's going to attempt to flee justice. Basically saying, Misty, he can't be trusted because of the misconduct.
If the sucker get let out on house arrest in his Miami home, what a sucker gonna flee to? He probably got a lot of money, but why would he want to flee? Where is he gonna flee to? If he flee, he could be apprehended anywhere. Ain't no place he can go on this planet where nobody's not gonna know where this sucker is, bro. Everybody know what he looks like. He can't shave his face. He can't get a bald head and nobody not know what he looks like. Everybody gonna know what he looks like, bro. Come on, man. Take that.
because of the physical abuse. He doesn't have a respect for the law. This is, again, Comey, the prosecutor, trying to convince the judge to keep him behind bars. And the judge is pressing her, saying, counsel, do you have an example of somebody who has been behind bars in detention on this type of charge, this prostitution Mann Act charge, and bail was denied on those grounds? And she said, I don't have an example off the top of my head, Judge. And it sounds like he's gonna make her, press her to try to find some precedent, if you will, because the judge has to be careful too, right? He can't keep him in detention.
Hey, y'all got to keep this in mind also, man. There's people in jail and prison with lesser crimes than this, you know what I'm saying, that's doing more time, you know what I'm saying, than what he's been given. You know what I mean? If he gets let out, just keep that in mind. There's people in jail and prison right now that's done lesser crimes that is doing, it's going to be doing still more time than what he's been given. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy work.
If there's not a legal justification for it.
Absolutely. The judge relies on legal precedent. Is there another similar case in this jurisdiction where that's happened? I am not aware of one. I think prosecution's argument about that danger element is much weaker given what the jury has said. The jury has spoken. These acquittals, they are rock solid. Nothing can happen on those particular charges at this point. The stronger argument, in my view, from prosecution perspective, is the tremendous amount of resources that this individual has on that flight risk issue. I think it's a stretch to say, given the jury's verdict, that this is a danger to society because the jury has made this determination on these charges. And again, unless there's a case out there that
he's a danger to society. So they think Diddy finna get out of there and just go seek revenge on everybody that went against him. Like he finna just start putting money bags on all these people's heads and just say, yo, listen, I'm gonna get on a plane. I'm gonna go over here, fly out of the country. And then I'm going to hire some let's just say hitman, and they go get the job done on whomever. Knock knock. Hey, remember you went against Sean Diddy Combs? Here's a package. And then they walk away, and then bang, that big, you know what I mean, just blow somebody up. I don't think he's gonna be on that type of stuff, man. I don't think he is, bro. He's just gonna be doing more damage to himself and whatever his brand and his name and what he still have left, you know what I'm saying, with that, you know what I mean? I don't think he's going to be, but yeah, they have their point of view too. You know what I'm saying? Or why they think he should stay, you know what I'm saying? You know, in jail, prison, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Aware of, I practice in this jurisdiction. I don't think there is on these.
You've never
charges.
seen that before in your practice.
No. And by the way, Laura, he's a first-time offender. You know, we know a lot about him because he's in the public eye for past 20 years, but he's a first-time offender from a legal perspective, and that has an impact on this decision as well.
Yo, that's the end of the video right there, man. And basically saying that, yo, they had that boy Diddy on like 5 different charges and whatnot, and it seemed like a lot of it ain't holding up. You know what I'm saying? A lot of that seemed like it was consensual, and the dude was just having fun with a whole lot of baby oil. So why would they, you know what I'm saying, hold them from that if you want to get back to that life? But anyway, y'all, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, man. If you like this video, check this one out right here, and don't forget to subscribe. All right, this is your guy, Official Shields. Y'all be cool. I'm at the jam. Peace. Take that.